Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's good. It's good. Everything's good. All good. The only other thing you can do for me is pray that Prabhupada uses me in this class. Otherwise, I have everything I need. Okay? So it's October 10th, 2025 in Pune, India, and we're reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Vidura's Talks with Maitreya, Text 39. Deva Uchu Namamate Deva Padaravindam Prapanatapopasamattapatram Yanmulaketa yatayon jasoru Samsara dukam bahir ukshipanti Devaha uchuhu. The demigod said, Namama, we offer our respectful obeisances. Te, your, Deva, O Lord, Pada Aravindam, lotus feet, Prabhana, surrendered, Tapa, distress, Upashama, suppresses, Atapatram, umbrella, Yat Mulaketaha, shelter of the lotus feet, Yatayaha, great sages, Anjasa, totally, Uru, great, Samsara Dukam, miseries of material existence, Bahi, out, Ukshipanti, forcibly throw. Srila Prabhupada's translation. The demigod said, O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada's purport. There are many sages and saints who engage in trying to conquer rebirth and all other material miseries. But of all of them, those who take shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord can completely throw off all such miseries without difficulty. Others, who are engaged in transcendental activities in different ways, cannot do so. For them, it is very difficult. They may artificially think of becoming liberated without accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, but that is not possible. One is sure to fall again to material existence from such false liberation, even though one may have undergone severe penances and austerities. This is the opinion of the demigods, who are not only well versed in Vedic knowledge, but are also seers of the past, present, and future. The opinions of the demigods are valuable because the demigods are authorized to hold positions in the affairs of universal management. They are appointed by the Lord as his confidential servants. So Prabhupada said we should listen to what the demigods say because they know what they're talking about. Deva uchuhu namamate deva padaravindam prapanatapo pasamattapatram Yamulaketa yatayon jisoru samsara dukam bahir ukshipanti. The demigod said, O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. So today I want to talk about umbrellas. In the room where I'm staying, there's an umbrella. I remember many years ago, I was in this isn't the area. I was in Mumbai, and the devotees were driving me to the airport, and it was September, and they said, "Is it rainy season in America?" I said, "We don't have a rainy season in America." So then they were quiet, like 5 minutes in the car, they're just quiet. And they said, "Do you get enough rain?" I said, "Well, where I live, we get plenty of rain." And again, they're quiet for a long time. And they said, "When does it rain?" I said, "Hey, it can rain anytime." And they're quiet another like 5 minutes. And then they said, "How do you know when to bring an umbrella?" So the demigods here, they're meditating on Krishna's lotus feet as an umbrella, as a shelter. Now, of course, we use umbrellas for rain, but also for sun. Especially I've seen in South India, practically everyone in the sun has a big black umbrella. Technically, we call an umbrella a parasol to protect you from the sun. And sometimes parasols for sun are a little different. They may not be like waterproof. So I want to meditate today on two things. Krishna giving us an umbrella and us giving him one. Okay? He giving us one and one giving him one. If we study in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about the item of sadhana of friendship with the Lord, you know we have the 9 processes. One is becoming the Lord's friend. There's 2 parts. One is seeing Krishna as our friend, and the other is being a friend to Krishna. So in that mood, Krishna's lotus feet and hand are umbrellas for us to shelter us, but we also in service want to give him umbrellas. Okay, so Krishna's lotus feet as umbrellas. So on Krishna's right foot, there's the sign of an umbrella. And it's sort of at the top of the arch and under the ball of the foot. But when does this class end? When do we end? 9 on a weekday. 8:40? 8:40, okay. So, but like right touching the ball of his, you know what the ball is, right? Like right under your big toe. Just touching the ball and the arch, Krishna has an umbrella there. And Srimati Radharani has an umbrella on her left foot, matching where Krishna has on his right foot. So in 189, Queen Kunti says that these marks of Krishna's feet make everything in the world auspicious. And in preparing for this class, I was really thinking about how we often read about the devotees seeing Krishna's footprints, and they see these marks. I was thinking, this is very difficult. Like if we're walking around barefoot, you just barely see an outline of the foot. You don't usually see the lines in the feet. The ground would have to be a real specific consistency to keep those lines. So just very fascinating to me that the devotees, when they see Krishna's footprints, they also see the umbrella on Krishna's feet. So wherever Krishna's feet touch, everything becomes auspicious. In 12:11:9, it states, "The Lord's umbrella is his spiritual abode, Vaikuntha, where there is no fear." So that's the Lord's umbrella. You know, the Lord also has an umbrella over him all the time, and that umbrella is Vaikuntha, which removes fear. So this umbrella on the Lord's foot is also his own spiritual abode. And then in 321:17, Kardamamudi also compares the Lord's lotus feet to an umbrella. And he says this umbrella removes us from the bodily necessities. Now that's kind of interesting because the devotees, even very advanced devotees, they still eat something. Maybe Raghunath Das Goswami is only eating like a little cup of buttermilk, but he's eating something. Sleeping a couple hours a day, they're sleeping something. So what does it mean they have no bodily necessities? Of course, we have that Vamsi Das Babaji in the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, And it was said that he went 4 months without eating, sleeping, passing urine, or anything, or bathing. So perhaps sometimes devotees actually can be at a point where they have no bodily necessities. But it is stated that the devotees do not agitate the senses while meeting the demands of the senses. So they meet the demands of the senses in service, not in order to gratify the senses. That does not mean, my dear friends, that we repress the desires of the senses. That's not what it means. But it means that we focus on the relationship of our senses to their sense objects as seva. Prabhupada's talking about in the purport that those who take up some spiritual process without reference to the lotus feet of the Lord will not get liberated. And in their mental idea of liberation, they'll again fall down. So if we just simply try to stop the activities of the senses, that will not ultimately work. But being under this umbrella of the Lord's lotus feet, we can see everything as service. Right? Uddhava says those who smell the garlands offered to the Lord can become free from all the miseries of life. But we're taking this as service. You know, in the world, there are very famous people, and those who are their fans, their admirers, they like to collect paraphernalia from this famous people, correct? And they practically worship it, yes? Here's some shoe from Elvis Presley or something, I don't know. So when one is under this umbrella of the Lord's lotus feet, one is taking everything that one is given as the Lord's prasad. Many, many years ago, I heard Radhanath Swami talk about we shouldn't be eating, we should be honoring. Yes? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says that when the Lord's lotus lips touch the food, the Lord's qualities enter into the food. And when we eat it, we are filled with his qualities. And that gives Krishna pleasure. Just like people are cooking something for me, and when I eat it and enjoy it, they become happy, correct? Yes? So when we're happy at Krishna, that makes him happy. When we're trying to become happy by taking Krishna's energy separately from Krishna and trying to enjoy it separately, that makes Krishna unhappy. Very, very simple. So here I'm visiting here, and those of you who live here, or those of you who manage the tent, you want me to be happy here, right? You want me to be happy. You want me to be happy with this cup of water even. You especially wanted me to be happy with the cup of water. But if I say, oh, very nice cup, I'm taking it home, that wouldn't make you happy. You understand? This is very simple. When I look at the world and I say, oh, it's mine to enjoy, then Krishna's like, no, not like that. But if I see, oh, this is Krishna's, I'm using in his service, I'm getting pleasure out of using it in his service. Therefore, Mahaprabhu is saying, I want to experience ecstasy. So this shelter under this umbrella of Krishna's lotus feet means that when we're maintaining this body, we're not doing it in terms of, well, I have to maintain this body out of some bodily necessities. We're thinking, this is Krishna's body. Bhumirapano bayu kamano buddharevacha. This subtle body, this gross body, it belongs to Krishna. I'm taking care of it for Krishna. And Krishna's giving me so much facility to take care of it. Therefore, one is not disturbed by the material necessities. Now, very interesting, in 1119.9, Uddhava says that the umbrella of Krishna's lotus feet are showering nectar. Okay, usually we have umbrellas to keep us from showers. We don't expect the umbrellas to be producing showers. However, if you're using umbrellas not for the rain, but you're using an umbrella for the sun, you might want the umbrella to be showering something. So at least in Europe, there's many restaurants that have part of the restaurant inside and part outside. And when it's very hot, they have some kind of canopy or umbrellas over the tables. And these canopies or umbrellas, there's water going through them. And so there's this mist of water. And when you walk, even that you're walking on the street past the restaurants and it's very hot, you get this mist. Now, Krishna's lotus feet are often, it's often said that Krishna's lotus feet have honey, like Rukmini talks about the foolish women who marry ordinary husbands. Sorry, guys. Because they haven't tasted the honey of the lotus feet of the Lord. And I've thought about this a lot. Like, does it mean that Krishna's lotus feet taste like honey? We can think of them smelling like honey, but tasting like honey. What does this exactly mean? But Uddhava is saying that they're showering nectar, amrita. So amrita means they protect you from death. Like today's verse, the demigod said, they protect you from the material misery. You throw out, they say you throw out the material miseries like in a rubbish bin. You just like no interest in them. But so this is not just water, but it's nectar. Of course, I was thinking, well, if your umbrella is showering nectar, I'm such a practical person, I think, well, that would be kind of sticky. But I don't think it's a sticky nectar. It's just a refreshing, that one feels refreshed and one no longer experiences death. Like it says when Narada Muni died, it was like lightning and illumination are at the same. There's no death. There's no death. So no miseries, no death, no whips of I have to meet the bodily necessities. By the way, Prithu Maharaj received a gift of an umbrella also that shoots out water. So he had, I imagine you'd only want to be around him when it was very hot. Yes, otherwise it might be a little inconvenient. You have this, this umbrella that's shooting water everywhere. Of course, Mahaprabhu, when he's dancing in the Rath Yatra, he's crying so much that his tears are like a syringe shooting out his tears of water. Now, there's also an umbrella on Krishna's hands. So it took me a while to find out exactly where that was, because I don't have that book with me. But it's also on Krishna's right hand, and it's right under this finger. So he has an umbrella on this hand, right under this finger. There's a wonderful verse where Lord Nrsingadev puts his hand on the head of Prahlad. I think they showed that in that movie. I think they showed Nrsingadev putting his hand. And Prahlad Maharaj is talking about that. He said that you never do this to anyone, but you're touching my head with your lotus hand. And this is a very nice thing to meditate on when we're chanting. That when we're chanting our japa, that Krishna is touching me with his right hand, and it has this nice umbrella that's sheltering me from the material miseries, from being whipped by the bodily necessities, that's removing all fear, that it's actually his holy abode, Vaikunta. And that this umbrella on his right hand or on his right foot, wherever you want to meditate, that your head is under his foot or your head is under his hand, whatever you prefer, that it is showering nectar to relieve me from thinking I will die. Na hanyate hanyamane shrire. Then I know I will not die. So Govardhan Hill, he's being lifted, of course not by the right hand, he's being lifted by the left hand. So he's not having this touch right here from Krishna, but he's having the touch of Krishna's left hand, and he's feeling that like a shelter, as Raghunath Das Goswami prays. Swapresta hastam bhujaso kumarya sukhanubhutiratipume vritte mahendra vajahatimapyajanam govardhanomi nisatam abhistam. Beloved's lotus hand with delicate touch gives deep his happiness holding above earth. So Indra's thunderbolt striking he won't feel. O Govardhan Hill, may you grant my request. So Govardhan Hill, feeling this touch of Krishna's lotus hand with its very delicate touch, he doesn't feel the striking of Indra's thunderbolts. He didn't feel that. So we may ask, this getting rid of material miseries, what does this mean? We see that devotees also They get old, right? Like I've gotten old. Sometimes people say to me, Urmila, you haven't changed. And I said, then I must have been very ugly when I was 20. So we get old, we get sick, we get injuries, yes? Our family members die. Maybe our money gets stolen, our house burns down, there's a flood. So many things happen, correct? I had one non-devotee relative who said, what's the use of being a religious person? Religious people have all the same problems of anybody else. And sometimes we think that. Sometimes we think, well, if I just take shelter on the umbrella of Krishna's feet, I'll be free of the material miseries. Krishna's just going to coat my life with this patina of gold, He's going to be like this, like what they use to smooth the roads? Probably nobody knows what that is in Puri because I haven't been on one smooth road in the whole city. But if you've been in a place where there are smooth roads, like, does anybody here smooth the roads? So there's like this big roller that smooths out the roads. So we might think, if I surrender to Krishna, he's going to go in front of me just smoothing out the road. So that's not what it means. But it means that we're having such ecstasy with this touch of Krishna's lotus foot or lotus hand, we don't feel the material miseries. You might say, how is this possible? But we all experience this sometimes. We're so absorbed in something that we don't. One time I was packing, and I was thinking, okay, I've got to get to the airport on time, and I'm packing. And some devotees came to say goodbye to me, and they said, Urmila, what's this red stuff on your floor? And I'm like, oh my God, my foot is bleeding. And then I remembered, oh yeah, about an hour ago, I knocked my foot against something. But I was so absorbed in packing, I didn't feel it. Has this ever happened to you? You're so absorbed in something that, you ever get like a bruise, and then you're like, I don't remember getting this. Where did I get this bruise? We've all had this experience, yes? Prabhupada gives the example in his lecture on teachings of Lord Kapila Dev that Stalin was afraid that if he went under anesthesia for surgery, that his enemies would kill him. So he had surgery without anesthesia by putting his mind in a different place. And after I read that, I practiced that for labor and childbirth. So my second and third children, I was able to not have any pain because I meditated. I wasn't meditating on Krishna's feet or hands as an umbrella, but I was meditating on Govinda's belt. In New York, we have Radha Govinda, so I was meditating on Govinda's belt. I'm like, as long as I'm meditating on Govinda's belt, whatever happens with my body will not disturb me. And I had no pain, like at all, nothing. And the midwife was like, are you unconscious? It's kind of funny. But one can do that. Actually, all pain comes from fear and attention. All pain comes from fear and attention. There's no objective thing called pain. Pain means there's some sensation or some happening in our life that fills us with fear and we put attention to it. That is pain. That's all. So if one is fearless and if one doesn't give much attention to the world, of course it's good to notice you cut your foot so you can wash it and put a bandage on it. So it's a good idea to notice if you break your arm. I mean, that's recommended. But not that if one's feeling pain, actually this means that we're full of fear and that we're putting our attention. In the 11th canto, the Avanti Brahmana says all distress is simply in the mind. And more medical science is becoming to recognize this. So you find it's becoming a few years ago, it was like kind of a fringe thing in medicine, and now even big hospitals, they have like holistic medicine, they have pain psychology, and they teach people how to get rid of chronic pain just by adjusting their mind. Of course, we talked about Govardhan feeling the shelter of Krishna's hand, but of course Govardhan himself is also an umbrella. Yes? In Bhagavatam 3.2.33 and 2.7.32, Govardhan is mentioned as an umbrella. All right, so we've looked at how Krishna, especially Krishna's right foot, that's the foot, with the deity of Krishna that he has crossed over in the front, and is kind of like this, yes? And Krishna's right hand are umbrellas, okay? But now let's look at it the other way. us giving Krishna an umbrella. Right? Like Prabhupada, you look around, look for a minute. You see Prabhupada has an umbrella? Yes, we give great. An umbrella is a sign of respect. It's also a sign of royalty, right? That you give an umbrella. You know, if you go to Loy Bazaar and they sell those little altars, those little like cheapy, aluminum, metal, ugly altars, and they all have this little umbrella. Yes? You know what I'm talking about? Yes? Okay. And when we take the deity on procession, if you've ever been to Srirangam, so I think it's like 344 days a year, something like that. They take various deities on procession. I think they skip 20 days. I don't know why. But anyway. And each time it's different murtis in a different festival. Actually, when Varaha returns to the spiritual world, it's said every day is a festival. So in Srirangam, they've almost taken that seriously. They have a few days off. So they take the deities on procession, and they always hold an umbrella. Actually, usually most of us in our puja, we do 5 or 16 upachars. Yeah? But there's actually 64, and one of them is an umbrella. So when we were living in the one of the old New York temples on Henry Street, we were going to see Srila Prabhupada. This is the summer of 1975 in Philadelphia. Prabhupada was coming for the Rath Yatra, and he was going to do initiations. That's where I got the second initiation, and that's where my father became a life member. So we were in New York getting ready to travel to Philadelphia, a few hours travel, and it was raining, and so we had brought our umbrella to the temple. Now, one of the spokes of our umbrella was bent, so you could always, it was a plain black umbrella, but one of the spokes was bent in a particular way. So it was very obvious which was our umbrella. And we put our umbrella with the shoes in the shoe room, but after the morning program, we went to get our umbrella, and it was gone. So we weren't very happy. We were like, my husband and I are like, somebody stole our umbrella, right? We get to Philadelphia, it's also raining in Philadelphia. And the devotees were using an umbrella to accompany Srila Prabhupada to the Rath cart, and guess what umbrella they were using? Our broken umbrella. So then we were happy. Huh? So we offer umbrellas. We see also Balaji, right? He also has an umbrella. Yes. So, in the spiritual world, so the residents of Vrindavan, they all do many services, but they also, each one of them has a particular service that they do. And like, this is my service. Some of us have that in a temple. We have something like, that's my service. That's what I want to do. So Lalita, she has a service. This is from Srila Rupa Goswami's Radhakrishna Ganodesh Deepika. She has a service to carry an umbrella for Radha and Krishna. And this is more like a parasol than a rain umbrella. It's decorated with white flowers. And it has a handle decorated with yellow jasmine flowers. And I don't think I've ever seen yellow. Have you ever seen yellow jasmine flowers? I've only seen white. So in Goloka Vrindavan, they must have yellow jasmine flowers. So that's on the handle. In 10:22:30, Krishna says that the trees in Vrindavan act like umbrellas to shelter the devotees and Krishna from the sun. So that's one of their services. So those devotees who want to be trees in Vrindavan, you will also be Krishna's umbrella. Now, remember we talked about friendship? Does anybody remember that from way at the beginning of the class? That the item of friendship is that you see that Krishna is my friend, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, but I am also Krishna's friend. So the clouds are compared to Krishna's friend. One reason is that they have the same color. Just like we tend to feel close to people who are similar to us. If you speak Tamil and you find someone else who speaks Tamil, then you feel very happy. Or someone who comes from your hometown or something like that. Correct? Yes, Prabhupada would say that when he traveled, when he met other people from India, you're like, oh, you are from India, I'm from India. So Krishna is happy because the clouds have the same color, but also they have the same mood, that Krishna is always showering his mercy and the clouds are showering the mercy of rain. But there's another way in which the clouds are Krishna's friend. This is in 10:21:16 and 10:35:13. The clouds create an umbrella. Okay. In Prabhupada's dictation of Krishna book, I don't know, have any of you heard the dictation tapes? So normally when Prabhupada dictated his books, so he would dictate his books, the devotees would transcribe from the tape, and then they would send it back to Prabhupada to record over it. Nobody saved those. Young, foolish, not thinking that maybe somebody in 2025 might want to listen to Prabhupada dictating all of his books. So nobody thought like that, unfortunately. That was happening with Prabhupada's lectures also. And when my husband saw that, he kidnapped the lecture tapes and set up the Bhaktivedanta tape ministry so that wouldn't happen anymore. But there was one exception, and that was Krishna book. So Jadharani liked to listen to Prabhupada's dictations of Krishna book while she painted. So she kidnapped those recordings. So they didn't get recorded over. Now some of them did. Like most of Ras Leela is gone. I know chapter 66 is gone. We don't have everything from Krishna book, but we do have most of it. Prabhupada dictating it. And when Srila Prabhupada dictates this part of Krishna book, he says the clouds created an umbrella of flour-like snow to protect Krishna from the heat. And if you go to the Bhagavatam verse, it says pieces of ice that look like snow. I do not know why in Krishna book it says the clouds created an umbrella of flowers instead of flour-like snow. I'm just saying this so if you hear this and you go to Krishna book and you don't find it and you think I'm making it up, I'm not making it up. It's in the Bhagavatam and it's in Prabhupada's dictation tapes. Actually, I have a PowerPoint about friendship where I actually play this recording of Srila Prabhupada so people will know I'm not making it up. So they make this umbrella of flour-like snow to protect Krishna from the heat. Of course, it's hard to understand how this would work. Now, in the hot season in India, it would be nice to have an umbrella out of snow, wouldn't it? Except I'm thinking it would melt very fast. Like you'd get this snow umbrella and then you'd become drenched immediately. When I was a child growing up in America, I don't know if you guys do this, but in the summer we would have these treats made of ice that they just pour some flavor on. Do you have that? Of course, the flavors are all chemical garbage. Oh, why they fed those things to us. But anyway, they were called snow cone. And you get like this paper cup and then this ice, and they put some color, some artificial color, artificial. I'm sure you could make it with real something. You could probably put like real mango juice on it. And you eat this ice and you feel cool. I was once in Mayapur right at the end of the hot season, and 5 times a day I had to pour cold water on my head in order for me. I couldn't think otherwise. Like every few hours I go, my brain isn't working, and I would have to pour cold water on my head to deal with the heat. But I don't know, these snow umbrellas, they must have had some mystical potency that they didn't just immediately melt, but actually were cooling. I was just thinking, so my grandson-in-law, for a while, he had a job where in the summer, and it doesn't get as hot where we live in the summer as it gets here, but it does get hot. So he was having to work outside, and it was very difficult for him. So I bought for him this thing you can put on your neck. Like you put it in the freezer, and it gets cold, and then you put it on your neck, and it stays cold for like 2 hours. And he said it really helped him. So I'm probably these snow umbrellas that the clouds make, they must last for a while. Must be some mystical thing. And so it must follow Krishna around, you know? Like I can't imagine the snow handles have snow umbrellas have like a handle. So the clouds just like they shower this snow umbrella to protect Krishna from the sun. It must just like follow him and take a while to melt, and then maybe they send another one. I don't know. Nice thing we can meditate on. So in 110:17, Arjuna brings an umbrella. When Krishna is leaving Hastinapur for Dwarka, Arjuna is carrying an umbrella to take him from the palace to the chariot. And this is definitely a sun protection umbrella because it's made out of embroidered lace, which would be useless in the rain. So it's got to be a parasol type umbrella, and it's got a handle of jewels. And then the Krishna gets on the chariot from Hastinapur to Dwarka, and I don't know if he does it all in one go or if they stop on the way. And if they stop on the way, there's got to be somebody there with an umbrella as well. But when he gets off of the chariot in Dwarka, then there's another umbrella. This is in 1:11:17. Now it says that this umbrella is as white as the sun. Now that seems again to me a little unusual because the umbrella is supposed to protect you from the sun, but then the umbrella is also looking like the sun. So I have this sun umbrella. Now one of my favorite sections in the Bhagavatam is when the four Kumaras go to Vaikuntha. You know, when they encounter Jai and Vijay, right? And then Lord Narayana comes out to try to solve the problem. What's going on? Why are my servants arguing with each other and cursing each other? So when he comes out, this is in 3:13:38. So it says that the Lord's servants are carrying an umbrella, and that on either side of the umbrella, there's other servants with chamaras. And the chamaras look like white swans as they're moving. They look like white swans, and they're creating a breeze. And then around the edge of the umbrella, there are pearls. And so when the chamaras on either side are creating this breeze, so the pearls look like ice melting in the wind. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen that because it never gets cold enough here for there to be ice. But where I grew up, in the winter, we would have ice forming. And then when the sun comes out, it starts dripping. It starts melting in the wind or in the sun. So it looked like this dripping ice, or it looked like drops of nectar falling from the moon. So at least in this life, in this body, I have never seen drops of nectar falling from the moon. But I would imagine that that looks very nice. I mean, one thing I have seen many, many times is the moon reflecting on water. And when the moon is reflecting on water, same with the sun reflecting on water, but it's kind of more dramatic with the moon, especially if it's like a full or nearly full moon, because everything is very dark, the sky is very dark, and so the moonlight reflecting on the water is more accentuated than when the sun is reflecting on the water. And the water moving with the moon reflections, it looks like jewels. Yes? Looks like jewels. Or you could say it looks like maybe pearls. I always think of diamonds, but you can think it looks like little pearls. So these pearls on Krishna's umbrella moving in the breeze, you could think of that as to the reflections of the moon on the water moving in the waves. So like that with the chamara, with this umbrella. When Lord Ramachandra and Sita and Lakshman and Hanuman, when they come on Ravana's flower airplane that he got from Kuvera, when they come to Ayodhya, they're greeted with umbrellas. That's mentioned in 9:10:35-38 and also 9:10:43. And there the person carrying the umbrella, though, is, anybody know? Hanuman. Hanuman's carrying the umbrella. I find it interesting that Arjuna carries an umbrella and Hanuman carries an umbrella, and of course Hanuman is on Arjuna's flag. Now, umbrellas are not just used for the Lord, but any respectable personality, any kings. We put an umbrella over Srila Prabhupada. And you know, traditionally, the brahmacharis would all have umbrellas. Take note, you brahmacharis. So they would have, I'm going to cause all this trouble in Pune. All the brahmacharis are going to start walking around with fancy umbrellas. So traditionally, the brahmacharis would have a water pot and an umbrella. And when Vamandev appeared, because he appeared as a young brahmachari, this was one of the gifts he was given. And he was given this umbrella from Varuna. Now, I'm not sure what Varuna does with umbrellas. He's under the water. Isn't he under the water? What does he use them for? I don't know. But he seems to have a collection of them. because he gives Vamadev this umbrella, but there was another umbrella of his that Bhaumasura stole. And this was one of the reasons that Krishna came with Satyabhama to attack Bhaumasura, because Bhaumasura had stolen Aditi's earrings and Varuna's umbrella. Again, I'm sure it must have been one of his umbrellas. Now, of course, you might wonder, why would you have a war over an umbrella and some earrings? Like people today fight wars over oil. That you can understand, I guess, sort of, kind of. They fight wars over borders, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. But usually it's over some sort of resource, like it's fertile land, or it's got oil, or some sort of strategic advantage. And at least the War of Troy was fought over a woman. But an umbrella? Why would you start a war? You imagine that? If Putin said, we're attacking Ukraine for its umbrellas, be a little odd. So now I don't have a pramana for this. This was one devotee suggested this, but I thought it was very reasonable. So just like I'd say probably all of us have a phone, right? So the phone, it's just like metal and glass and things like that, and it's made by humans, but it extends our power, correct? Like I can take my phone and I can immediately call any of my children, or 13, not 11 grandchildren. I can immediately call any of my family members anywhere in the world and talk to them. That's a pretty far out mystic power. I can also order things, right? Like I have a Kindle app on my phone and I just press 2 buttons and poof, I got a book, Prapti City. It is actually. It's our mechanical way of having cities. So my point is our phone, or I can ask the phone anything. I can just talk to my phone and ask it any question and it answers my question. When I was a kid, to do that, we'd have to drive to a library and find the right book. And now I just talk to my device. So we have devices that extend our powers, correct? We make the devices with our limited powers, but the device extends our powers. So most likely, these demigods' paraphernalia were like that. It wasn't just like some fabric and a stick, but it probably had some power. So Balaram also acts as Krishna's umbrella. So that means Krishna kind of sometimes acts as his own umbrella in his own expansion. So Anantasesh acts as Krishna's umbrella in 3:823. It says that. Now, we often see that, right? We often see the Lord sitting on Anantasesh or lying on Anantasesh, and the hoods are over him like an umbrella. And Anantasesh was also an umbrella for who? We said Krishna and Vasudeva, right? Well, that was Krishna and Vasudeva. So Vasudev's carrying little baby Krishna across the Yamuna, and it's pouring, right? But there Anantasesh is an umbrella. And in Adi 5:123, it says that Lord Nityananda, who's again Balaram, acts as a Lord umbrella. So we looked at how the Lord can be our umbrella, which was the main point of today's verse, on his lotus foot. Which foot? Where? Like the ball in the arch. And also Krishna has an umbrella on his right hand. Where? Under this finger. This finger. Yes. And that umbrella protects us from material miseries, fear, being entangled in bodily necessities. But we can also give Krishna an umbrella. We can also be his friend. We can try to make things easier for him, make things more pleasant for him, make him feel comfortable, show him respect. Now, because an umbrella is also a sign of respect, when Krishna gives us the umbrella of his lotus feet or his hand, we say we're Krishna's servant, but Krishna often treats his devotees as more respectable. There was that illiterate Brahmana who didn't know how to read the Bhagavad Gita, and he's crying, and Mahaprabhu says, "Why are you crying?" He says, "I'm thinking about Krishna becoming the servant of Arjuna. So Krishna giving us this umbrella, giving us this shelter, he's actually showing us respect. Even though we're so small, such a small 1/10,000th the tip of a hair on this little tiny planet, in this little tiny universe, and we're such nonsenses, at least me, I'm such a rebellious nonsense. And still Krishna is showing me respect and showing me love and giving me shelter. So we can think like this whenever we see the Lord, whenever we chant his name. We can think like this in terms of serving him. We can think like this whenever we pick up an umbrella. We can think like this whenever we go into some shade from the sun. Let me go into some shade, some overhang, some tree. That Krishna is the ultimate shelter. And I will find that shelter. I find that shelter in the mood of service. And we have in today's verse, Prapanam, in the mood of surrender. But Krishna is so happy when I take pleasure in being under his shelter. He takes pleasure in facilitating my taking pleasure in serving him. So anything good in this class is from Srila Prabhupada, our acharyas, the Shastra. Any mistakes that I've made, kindly correct them or ignore them. So anyone have questions, comments, corrections, additions, subtractions? Yes, Prabhu. How much time can I have? I'm already 4 minutes over. 5-10 minutes, okay.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, Mother, you're talking about Krishna being our friend, our shelter. But sometimes because of self-gatekeeping beliefs, self-sabotaging beliefs, okay, there is no hope for me, and whatever I do, it will never be enough because Krishna is so far and Krishna is so pure and so big. So this becomes an obstacle to accept Krishna's friendship, Krishna's mercy. So how do we overcome this self-sabotaging and self-gatekeeping beliefs?
Okay, excellent question. This self-sabotaging stuff, it's in what guna? Sattva, Rajas, or Tamas? Tamas. It's heavy tamas. It's tamagun that looks like humility. Like Putana looked like a beautiful lady. Just like that, but she's actually a witch come to kill you. So this is not humility. It's tamagun. So we can practice, how we can deal with this is practice. I mean, now if you're a really demoniac person, this won't work. But if you're a normal person, think of how you would talk to a friend. I mean, if you're a demon, maybe you go around like verbally abusing people. You're terrible, you're low, you're disgusting. Why should Krishna care about you? I mean, maybe you're like that, but hopefully you're not like that. How would you talk to a friend? You wouldn't say to a friend, why do you think Krishna cares about you? Who do you think you are anyway? You're useless. Would you talk to anybody else like that? I hope not. If you would, you need some serious counseling. Think about how you would talk to a friend. Talk to yourself that way. We're part of Krishna. We shouldn't be abusive to ourselves either. What does Krishna say? Austerities that harm the body are demoniac, and they give pain to the super soul. Correct? So if it's abuse. Isn't it abuse? I mean, if I was talking to someone else like that, if you heard me talking to someone else like that, you're useless. Why do you think Krishna cares about you? Oh my God, you know. You'd report me to the whatever adult abuse part of, there is actually. There's a department of ISKCON for adult abuse. Seriously, there really is. You'd report me. You'd say, why is she talking like that to people? Well, why talk to yourself like that? You're part of Krishna. We think if I talk to myself like that, I'll motivate myself. If I'm really heavy with myself. But it doesn't work. It's just depressing. So a really nice thing you can read is Krishna Das Kaviraj, where it sounds like he's really down on himself. He's saying, I'm lower than the worm and stool. If you say my name, you become sinful. Sounds like that. And then he says, but Lord Nityananda is giving me his mercy. Madan Mohan is giving me his mercy. Even though I'm so fallen. Even though I'm so fallen. Even though I'm practically useless. Even though I keep trying to get it together and it's just not working. I keep trying to fix my faults and they just come up again in a week or a day or an hour or whatever. Still, Krishna loves me. Do you have kids? You love your kids, right? One time when I was visiting my oldest son and his family, one of his kids who's now 18, but when he was 2. So, you know, sometimes when kids' noses are running, they just get like mucus all over their face, or they go to wipe their nose like this. So he had like dried mucus all over his arms and all over his face. He was taking his clothes. And he was just like covered with mucus. But his parents still loved him, folks. They didn't say, you mucus-covered thing, you. They washed him up, changed his clothes. They took care of him. Right? I always say the only part of motherhood I really didn't like is if one of my kids was sick and vomited in my bed at 2 a.m. It's funny, right after I'd said that on a class, I went to visit my granddaughter. And she said, oh, Nasinga just vomited in my bed at 2 a.m. I'm like, yeah, I just talked about that in class. But you still love your kid, right? You don't give him away. This kid vomits in my bed at 2 a.m. Get him out of here. Hey, parents love kids even who become criminals, honestly. They still care about them. That's a whole story I could tell you that I don't have time. Oh, maybe I'll tell you this. I'm going to tell you this story. So there was this, it's a true story. So there was this man his mother had died when he was young, and he became a really heavy-duty criminal. Like really, really bad stuff kind of thing. And even in jail, he was always picking fights, getting into trouble. They put him into solitary confinement. But his father was a very religious man, and every day, multiple times a day, his father would say, my dear Lord, please save my son. My dear Lord, please save my son. My dear Lord, please save my son. And one day in solitary confinement, this man, he actually heard a voice. If you were to take the energy that you use for criminality and use it for good, you could do so much for the world. Who's talking to me, he said. He completely changed his life, completely reformed. Ended up being of great help to other prisoners. And he attributed that to the fact that his father had always been praying for him. Like, why would God show mercy to him in this way? It must have been the prayers of his father. So my point is, parents love children even who are criminals. Krishna loves you. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshar Junatistati. He's in your heart. Actually, Krishna loves each of us much more than anybody else could love us. There's not even any comparison. He's interested in everything we think, everything we feel, everything we desire, everything we do. You find anybody like that walking around on this planet who cares about you that much. Only Krishna cares about everything. And he's not far. He's very far, but he's also very near. He's right there. One devotee wrote this song about Krishna who's closer than your breath. He joins with the air of life. He's your intelligence. He's even there when you forget him. He's your forgetfulness. He's your fire of digestion. He's your abilities, all of your abilities. He's your very life. He says, I'm the life of all that lives. The amount of love Krishna has for you is immeasurable. And it doesn't matter how foolish or fallen or whatever you are, he still loves you. And you would say that to anyone else, wouldn't you? Yes? So say it to yourself. Be your friend. Be your friend. And if your mind starts acting like an enemy, then you say to your mind, get out your big stick, say, my dear mind, would you please start being my friend? I'm not going to listen to this garbage. Now you can give yourself good instruction. If you do something foolish, you can say, I just did something really foolish. What can I learn from that? But don't say to yourself, you're a fool. There's a difference. Is that all right? Then we can take one more. Yes. Can you just be loud?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Whoa, there we go.
Mataji, I'm provided with many things in my life that helps me in the spiritual path. But my vision stops at my husband. I feel gratitude towards my husband for providing me everything that helps me in the spiritual practice.
You think it's all coming from your husband?
Pardon
Is that
me?
what you're saying? You think everything's coming from your husband?
Yes, I am not able to surpass that vision and take it to Krishna. And second thing, sometimes
Well,
it
let's
happens.
do one thing at a time. Let's
Yes.
do one thing at a time. Is Krishna your husband's abilities? Yes?
Yes.
Is he your husband's intelligence?
Yes.
If Krishna stopped providing for your husband, would your husband be able to do anything about it at all?
No. Yes, Mataji.
Very, very simple. It's nice that you love your husband so much. That's very nice. But you risk just taking birth as a man. And you can ask them, is that great? Is that great? Do you recommend the male human body, guys? How many stars? Better to go back to Godhead. Prabhupada said, don't take your birth again and again in this Kali Yuga. They have their issues too, you know. Yeah? They have their kind of ego. I'm so glad I don't have the male version of ego. Thank you, Krishna. So, you don't really, sorry guys. So, that's not helpful.
So Mataji, how can we develop that? It's
You think about it. That's what sadhana means. It means you make a deliberate effort. Okay, I'm going to tell you another little story. I've told this story many times before. So this is many, many years ago. So I was looking in my closet, and I was thinking, I only have 3 silk saris. It'd be nice to have one more for festivals. And I'd like it to be I don't want this anymore, folks, so don't get this for me. It's not what's going on here. I said, I'd like it to be kind of a heavy silk, sort of a slightly off-white, like a beige with an embroidered border. I love embroidery stuff. With like an embroidered border. I got a picture in my mind, right? And I thought, maybe next time I go to India, I'll get one. Oh, but silk saris are expensive. I'm not going to bother spending the money on it. It's not worth it. The whole thought was like 20 seconds, right? Okay. 3 days later, I was running a school then. So 3 days later, one of the parents comes to pick up her child from school, and she's in her car, and she says, hey, Urmila, come here. So I came there, and she handed me that sari. Like I had custom ordered it. So I thanked her, of course. But I knew who gave me the sari. Krishna. Which made me very sad. I said, Krishna, I'm sorry I asked for a sari. I didn't even ask him, really. See that? It's Krishna. You should thank the person who gives you, of course. You should be grateful to the person. You don't just go, well, that was actually just Krishna. I don't care about not like that. I don't think Krishna would appreciate it. You should be kind to your delivery drivers. It's Krishna. Krishna is giving through my husband. And I don't know if you get another question, because he said 2, and that we already had 1. So I think we should stop there. Is that all right? Is that okay, answer? See Krishna behind everything. Why just your husband? Everything. It's always Krishna. Don't just see Sarva Karna Karnam. He's the cause of all causes. He's behind everything. And I'm glad you have such a nice husband. You're very blessed that you have such a nice husband. You're very fortunate. Not everybody even gets a husband. Some people get husbands and they're awful. So you're very nice, very blessed that you have a good husband. But take that as Krishna's blessing. And you think my service to my husband is actually service to Krishna. Krishna's giving me this jiva in the form of my husband, and Krishna would like me to take care of him to please Krishna. Don't try to please your husband directly. Please your husband so Krishna will be pleased with you, and see the gifts that come through him as Krishna's gifts. Then you'll be actually a better wife and you'll be happier. Is that all right? So again, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.